Oh boy. Oh boy, oh boy.
Well, welcome to Switching Reels.
Welcome to Switching Reels. I'm Trenton.
I'm Connor, and we are your hosts. I forgot last week to say that people should like, subscribe, and comment if they feel driven to.
Yeah, or if you feel compelled as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever you want.
Whichever one you feel. Please go like, comment, subscribe. Goodness gracious. What did we watch?
We watched your most anticipated film of the entire list.
I think you're right.
Yeah, that's what you said in the first episode.
The very first episode.
Yep.
Oh my gosh, it's been months now.
So yeah, we watched Fight Club.
We watched Fight Club. Wow.
First off, who are we recommending this to?
Part of me doesn't want to recommend it to anyone. Part of me wants for the rest of our listening audience to just live their life and not ever have to experience it. Ever.
You disliked it that bad?
No.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was a pretty cool movie. So,
all right, we'll get into this.
But
I'm very curious.
Maybe on a more serious note, like if you want what was going to be a meta commentary, except for it still kind of was, but then turned into not a meta commentary.
We'll talk about this in theme. I'm actually really excited.
It twists you. Like, I thought the twists in this were better than in Inception. Like, a lot.
We haven't watched Inception yet.
I know, but we're gonna, and it's soon. I think within like a few movies, which is really nice.
I think it's actually our next one.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that's gonna be nice. So if you want, I think this is very much one of those, it's a cult classic. If you want to go and get hip with the kids, go and watch it.
That was painful to listen to.
I know.
I would recommend this to anyone that is, number one, an adult. That's the first thing. This is not a good movie for kids at all. But I would recommend this to anyone that's an adult that wants to watch a even remotely experimental film.
Mm-hmm. Oh, very.
I think it's incredibly well done.
Very well done.
And it's a little bit different in a lot of aspects,
yes.
Which we will get into. Second question. So now I'm really curious. Does it deserve its place on the list according to you?
First, content warnings. It has nudity, violence, profanity, and then tripping the heck out.
All right.
That's the content.
I don't know. I don't know if tripping the heck out is
Some people, I feel like they're like, nah, I don't want this trip.
Fair enough.
It tugs on your emotions. Not like Schindler's List.
Oh, no.
At all.
No, not even
but
close.
It tugs on your feelings. So, does it deserve its place on the list? It is number 12? No, 13?
So it was
11?
It was number... Oh, I had it. I knew what it was, but now I don't.
I need to keep it.
I think it's 11.
Yeah.
And Two Towers and Inception just switched very recently.
Oh,
yeah.
Crazy.
But
cool.
we've already watched Two Towers.
Exactly. So that's nice.
But yeah, I was directly below it.
I would say yes. Like, it should be higher if not for the fact that it's so experimental.
Yeah.
Like, I can see why Pulp Fiction was above it, because Pulp Fiction was experimental and it's been around for longer, so that makes sense too.
Not that much longer though.
Really?
Only about 3 years.
Only 3 years?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, this one feels far more modern.
It feels a lot more modern. Like, the CG, you can tell a little bit that it's I'm glad you didn't spend very much time on that. Because
they absolutely did.
They did spend time on that, but I'm glad they didn't spend very many frames on that.
Oh, yeah.
Because anyway. But yeah, so I do right now kind of want to say it deserves its place on the list. I feel like all of the Lord of the Rings are better movies, but not as interesting. This is a very interesting movie.
Yeah. This one, to give away some of my my ratings,
yes.
I wholeheartedly believe that this belongs where it is on the list.
That's awesome.
I wouldn't I don't think I would put it much higher, but I also would not drop it any lower.
So you'd keep it right below Forrest Gump where it deserves to be.
In my wonderful paradise of the mind, Forrest Gump is much lower on this list.
Mm-hmm. They didn't make a Forrest Gump reference though.
They do.
Which I found really interesting. That must mean Forrest Gump's older substantially than this?
Somewhat. I think
like
it's
it
also
should be.
about 3 years older.
That's so weird.
Yeah.
All these movies just playing off each other.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Forrest Gump was just a touchstone so quickly.
yeah,
That's
fast.
Well, we'll talk more about other stuff. But as far as ratings go,
Yeah.
for me, this is a 10 out of enjoyment.
Nice.
Like,
that makes sense.
This is, weirdly enough, as much as I love thinking about this film, every time I watch it, it just feels entertaining from start to finish with like absolutely nothing in the middle where I'm like, oh yeah, this is the boring part.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest, I had to pee through about half of that movie.
And you
And
did.
I was just like, after the next part.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good to hear.
But yeah, this is 10 for enjoyment, and I would probably put it at like a strong 7 to a light 8 for execution. The CG was not great. It was incredible for the time, but for now, doesn't
stack up.
Doesn't hold up very well. But I think everything that was done with like practical effects and just the feeling of the movie overall, just absolutely flawless execution.
Very, very well done. Absolutely. And the structure is fantastic. I would agree.
But they hold it
for so
heavy
long
on the CG.
So long. Yes.
That I'm like, I gotta knock points off just because, I know you were going for something cool and it just doesn't stand the test of time.
No, it doesn't, sadly. But I think I would agree. I think it's only a 9, 8.5 to 9 on enjoyment for me, just because of the length of time it strings you along. And we'll talk about more about that in a second.
This is a hard movie to talk about.
Yes, it is. And then execution, I'd probably give it a little bit higher. The CG wasn't as important to me. Like, it didn't feel like it had pivotal points.
Yeah.
And I think the makeup was done well enough for the points that it did matter more. So I would give it like an 8.5 as well. That's probably a solid 8.5 on both. Maybe higher for enjoyment, so 9.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Pretty good movie. So this is where we are going to be spoiling some things. So please tune off your ears or move on if you don't want to have spoilers. We've done our best to not have spoilers so far. Just a call back to go and like and subscribe and comment, please.
Yes.
And now we're gonna get into it because boy, was this a trip.
This movie is impossible to summarize in any way that does not include heavy spoilers.
Absolutely. No, I completely. Yeah. That's why it's after the spoiler tag.
Yep.
That's how
this one especially.
Go. Absolutely. There is no way of dealing with that. So you go first.
Oh my gosh. This is a movie about a guy whose life is just hollowed out by corporate living and consumerism that meets another dude who he starts a fight club with, that the entire sort of philosophy of the club is to abandon consumer lifestyles, I guess. And that slowly evolves into a terrorist cell that successfully blows up several credit card companies' buildings. And at this time, as you pointed out, it wouldn't work today, but at this time in history, because the cloud did not exist, would have effectively erased them. Would have erased the credit debt. And there's a whole other plot going along with this. You can't summarize this movie.
Sure you can. Here we go.
Okay, go for it.
Okay, so Fight Club is the story of Jack Tyler, as he a schizophrenic insomniac, as he goes through multiple alternative ways of dealing with his insomnia and schizophrenia, including but not limited to starting a fight club, going to multiple therapy sessions that he does not need to be in, going and starting a cult, going and learning how to create nitroglycerin, blowing up his own apartment, blowing up multiple buildings, and accidentally killing one of his members who had very large tits and was a man.
That did not feel like a summary to me, but you know what? Honestly, if you're past this tag, I mean, you probably should either choose to watch the movie or not watch the movie.
Yeah. And at this point, just watch the movie. But
Yeah.
we're gonna go and talk more about it. Connor is right. There's not a good way of summarizing it, so I didn't really try. Let's go and talk about all of this stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean,
start talking.
obviously, yeah, yeah. This is going to be a hard one to work around. I will say the thing that I love most about this film is it does theme in a way that I've never seen any other film do theme.
Mm-hmm.
It builds up the problem of consumerism and basically surrounding your life with meaningless tasks just because that's what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And it offers a solution to that. It says, well, go be a hyper-violent, hyper-masculine person without actually aiming for anything. Like, don't aim for self-improvement. Like, that's, you know, they specifically say at one point in the film, Tyler says that self-improvement is masturbation. Completely pointless. That it leads to nothing. So go do that, and that's your solution. That's your way out of this. And then it spends the entire back end of the film breaking down what it offered as the solution.
Yes.
In the first part of the film, which I just think is absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, I think it is very, very, very cool. I hated the first 4/5 of this movie because I could not quite understand what their point was. Like, this is a very heavy-handed theme, guys. Like, I'm not entirely sure what you're trying to say here.
And it feels like it might be a little harmful.
Feels like more than a little bit harmful. So 4/5 of the way through is when they do the twist, I think, but about 3/5 of the way through, they start hinting at, hey, something's gonna happen, and also, we may have been lying to you.
Yeah, something about 3/5 of the way through the film is where you start feeling like, there's something funny in the water.
Yeah,
like
there's something real fishy here.
Yeah,
like this is really strange.
Yeah,
I completely agree.
Which is. Weirdly, so there was, after this film came out, there were a whole bunch of like real life fight clubs that popped up all over the US, which just tells me that people did not
understand what was going on here. Guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the easy, like much more modern comparison is like with Rick and Morty, people like sort of idolizing Rick Sanchez.
Yes.
When the entire point of the TV show is, this is not a dude you want to be like.
You don't want to be like Rick. You don't want to be like Tyler Durden.
Yeah.
You don't want to be Tyler Durden. You just don't.
Yeah. Yeah, there are serious problems with what his philosophy about life was, like the deterministic, non-deterministic. Like the one thing that he knew was going to happen is everyone's going to die. Yeah,
that's the one thing you can guarantee. I feel like there's a couple. I don't know which philosophers this was, but this is not a new idea.
Yeah, no.
It was, they just played it up very, 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 very strong, which I think was very cool.
Yeah.
Like, but like it's It's a
deterministic nihilism. It really is.
Sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except for you're not even really self-serving. Like there's nothing, like nihilism I feel like is too strong. Like, you're not really going even after yourself or your own improvement or your own preservation. Really, you're just
that's
existing.
Well, yeah. So that's the issue. So the nihilism that most people talk about, the solution that they give to basically believing that everything is meaningless is, yeah, you do create your own meaning and then you figure it out from there.
Mm-hmm.
This doesn't go to you figure out your own meaning.
No.
It goes, there is no meaning, therefore nothing you do matters.
Yes.
Including finding your own meaning. And so, yeah, it's a pretty harmful philosophy.
Oh my gosh. It's like watching it was a very, very good movie. And I will probably watch it again.
Yeah.
Just so that I can get a better analysis on it. But like I could see like the way that they did portray it, like with the glorification of that at the very beginning was very strong. Like I, as a man, was like, okay, I can kind of resonate with this a little bit.
Yeah.
Like this is like very much tuning into like some deep primal part of me that is like, oh yes, I understand and I can agree with that. And but it's easy.
Right.
This is the easy way out. This is not solving your problems.
Exactly.
This is not solving society.
Yeah.
Anyway. Ooh, I feel like I could go a little bit on this one. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna need to hold myself back a little bit.
I think another thing, and this is more of a technical thing of how they actually pull it off. It feels visceral.
Yeah.
Like, weirdly, I get a similar feeling watching this film to the feeling that I get when I go to like a punk show and get into a mosh pit, right? Like it's that release of energy.
Yes.
That like
it's like a catharsis of some kind. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it's like, and you even see it that the blood in this film is so much darker than real human blood is.
Yeah.
But watching it, really, it just feels
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I completely agree. And like they do a really good job of like making it feel like a reward, like the violence, like they're trying to get something from it, and it is like euphoric.
And one thing that I never really put my finger on, but I noticed like little snippets of it every time I've watched this film, is one of the guys from the testicular cancer group at the beginning of the film, the one that's sharing about his wife having a kid with her new husband. He shows up partway through in the Fight Club, and you have almost an identical shot of him doing like the hugging and crying that he was doing in the cancer support group. Only he's hugging the guy that he just got out of a fight with and cheering because he won. And it's just there's something to that of him feeling a catharsis in a way that allowed him to feel a positive emotion, despite the fact that it was gotten negatively. The emotion that he was experiencing was a positive one, whereas the other one was probably more healing and more and better for him.
Absolutely. Again, this one was easier.
Right.
Like, not at all physically, and not at all like legally, I don't know, societally, but like it was an easier option to go and deal with this way.
Yeah.
I completely am not for the mass consumerism that we currently have in our economy.
Oh yeah, and if I had one huge issue with this film, it's that it doesn't provide
a valid solution.
A good solution.
They just go in a circle. They're like, "Hey, look at that."
Which, you know, in fairness,
it's a movie.
If you that's part of it. But like, if you want to tell a story that you set up a solution and then you break down that solution, it's kind of hard to set up
an actual solution.
Actual solution afterwards.
Completely.
If you're trying to show the dangers of the solution.
The entire movie is nihilistic.
Kinda.
Like it all just ends with like it doesn't necessarily matter.
Kinda. I mean, it ends less. I guess it sort of ends in the way that the nihilistic philosophers that did have that belief of, you find your own meaning and build on
on
that.
that.
Um,
Just took him an entire cult and blowing his face off.
yeah. I will also say, I think that the ending, despite the amount of CG in it, like you can
It's just
see
so
it is.
good.
It's just
Absolutely, but it's so good.
perfect that it doesn't even
And the
matter.
last line that he has with Tyler, like, is just gorgeous.
Oh, the last line with Tyler.
Yeah, so like before Tyler dies, and Tyler has a couple lines, but the last line that Jake, is that his actual name?
His
Do we know?
His name is never actually said for sure.
Good.
In the script, he's referred to as Jack.
Jack, that's because it was Jake or Jack, because it was like, I am Jack's blah.
Yeah.
And so I got it partway through. I was like, oh, that's from the books you were reading in the house.
Yeah.
Which is another nice little bit of foreshadowing of your slight insanity. But, dang it. Oh yeah, the hey, listen to me, my eyes are open. Like that's like just a great line. I loved that. That was very cool.
I loved the ending of like the very last line, the one that he says to Marla, where he says, "You met me at a very weird time in my life."
Yes.
And I couldn't help but connect that with the experience I had when I met my wife. And the fact that I was going through a lot, like not exactly this by any means, but
absolutely.
That is when I was going to most of my punk shows and metal shows and
getting that catharsis.
Yeah, getting that kind of catharsis. And I was probably drinking too much at that point, and like it was something where, like, I don't want to make this like a prescription to anyone or anything like that.
We are not therapists.
No, we are not. But weirdly, going through my relationship with my now wife, while I was going through that, did really shift the way that my brain worked about the world and how to actually exist in our society. And it's just really interesting. Like this is the first time that I've watched this and seen like a lot of parallels of like, again, not one for one, Marla is already a very fucked up human being.
Yeah.
Like beyond what I would say is like a good person to probably align yourself with. We kind of forget that by the end.
Yeah.
But like at the beginning, she's off her rocker.
Yeah, just a lot.
But viewing it through the idea of him realizing that he does actually like her and does want to not necessarily provide what's best for her, but be better for her.
Exactly.
And that kind of helping him get his act together. I couldn't help but see some comparisons there.
No, absolutely.
So, again, not a therapist, not saying that you should necessarily aim for that, but I think it's, I think it is a more common experience than just me.
Absolutely. And like as I was saying, this entire movie, like, it does make me resonate with something in it. Like, I have that feeling sometimes. There's a moment when he is reminiscing on the fact that like he wasn't angry that like his life was as good as it was, and he should have been angry at the fact that his condo was so nice, and then and all like
but it was all destroyed.
Yeah, exactly. Like I get that feeling pretty often, that like, hey, I should be angry that like I am focusing on these things instead of, but normally for me it's instead of something bigger. And it's like it was a weird feeling, like agreeing with the movie and at the same time hating it.
So tell me honestly, at
Please.
any point in this film were you like, I just don't like this film?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, about
okay.
3/5 of the way in.
Okay.
Yeah, like right before Bob dies.
Okay.
At that point, you're like, oh,
Yeah. Yeah, there's a little bit more depth to this than I initially thought.
Yeah, like there's a little bit more of a like an understanding of it and
Yeah.
like something weird's happening here.
Yeah.
Like they treat Jake.
Jack. So close.
Yeah, my brother's name's Jake.
Yeah.
They treat Jack like on two sides of a coin in that scene section. One
Right,
is like
yeah.
you're like your boss, but also you're not yourself. At the same time, they treat his word as gospel, and that was a little bit like,
Yeah.
I think that was one of the more obvious drops. Also, I liked Bob. Poor Bob.
So, I don't know if I've ever told you this. Trinity and I watched this together on a plane. She only got about halfway through it before she just rage quit the movie.
That's what I would have done, if not for the fact that I have made a commitment to you to go and watch one movie every 2 weeks and go and review it. Now, from this list, I would have done so as well, I think, or at least close to it.
Yeah.
I probably would have wanted to try and finish it and see what's going on, because everyone raves about it.
Yeah.
But I almost was like, nah, this is not for me.
Yeah. Yeah. It's again, I think it's a.
I think after like watching it a second time, I
Mhm.
think would be really beneficial because I could start getting some of the entertainment, like
Yeah.
knowing what's going to happen and knowing what the premise is. I did not find most of this stuff funny. I was like, that is directly harmful as to you, to society, to everyone that you interact with.
I weirdly maybe saw this at the time where it both resonated with me the most and
Mhm.
also I probably understood it the least.
Nice.
I saw it when I was like 15.
There you go.
And so like that, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
watching
That's a good
it-
age for it.
like yeah, weirdly like watching it then it's just everything that is funny in there, you are not yet old enough to be like, wait a second, that's really, really wrong.
Exactly. No, totally.
But you also are, you know, in a place where you're not going to be necessarily scarred to death by it.
No, absolutely.
Uh,
No, totally.
but yeah, I think even then I knew there was something deeper to the film, right? Like I didn't walk out of there and be like, yeah, I want to join a fight club
Exactly.
or anything like that.
Entirely.
Um,
But no, that was very good marketing for fight clubs.
Again, if you only saw the beginning of it, absolutely.
Even the entire thing, I see why people would go and start it.
Yeah.
Like it gives you like it's the whole don't go and repost information that you don't agree with. Because it increases the amount of that information out in the world.
I just don't repost information.
Exactly. That's also a good methodology. But obviously, this was a well done movie. It is making us both feel very many feelings and have very many thoughts on it. And like, it doesn't break you out of immersion. Like, ever.
Oh, yeah.
Like the CG is the closest it happens.
Yeah.
And at that point, you're just like,
Weirdly, it almost feels like a part of the movie.
does.
Like a lot of times CG will break the immersion for me.
Mhm.
It'll be like, oh, okay.
that was bad.
But for this one, it just feels like almost like a soundtrack motif.
Exactly.
Like coming back.
Especially after you like realize what's going on. Like, it's just part of his surreal existence.
Yeah.
You know, like the bad CG is like him trying to deal with the fact that his like actions are causing these kinds of repercussions.
So I'm curious actually. So there's like, I think there's 5 or 6 frames where Tyler shows up before we meet him.
Yes,
And
I
we-
saw one
Okay.
where Jack is on one of the stationary escalators going one way, and Tyler's going the other one.
So that's not what I'm talking about. So that one is like very clear.
Mhm.
The other ones are single frames. Like he pops up and he's usually like, he's got his hand on a guy's shoulder at one point. He's just standing there in another one. He pops up like 4 or 5 times before.
Because I feel like when I saw him in that very, very concentrated shot, I had seen him before. I just would not be able to place where they were.
Interesting.
Yeah, no.
But
idea.
yeah, so it's like single frame, he pops in, pops out.
I think if I was looking for it on this next one,
Yeah.
I would absolutely see it.
Yeah, it's one where at this point, when I watch it, I can't unsee it.
Yes. It's like, oh, there's Tyler.
Yeah. But I don't think I saw him any of the times the first time I watched it.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a film that I really, really enjoy. Again, it's just so unique in the way it does its theming.
Mm-hmm.
I've never seen another film attempt to build up one theme and then break it down.
See, I feel like I've seen other movies do it. I don't know that I can name them off the top of my head, but none of them have done it nearly as well as this one has.
Yeah.
Like it almost feels like a parody in and of itself at the very end. After you like watched everything, you're like, oh wow, well, this entire thing was making fun of itself.
Yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Like not necessarily in the funny way.
Yeah. I mean, again, I think the dialogue being written the way it is still funny today. Like, you probably heard me laughing at some scenes that you did not find nearly as funny as I did.
And I think if I watched it again, I would find it funnier now that I have seen it once. So
I'll be honest, I think the scene that gets the most rewatch value as far as comedy is with the gas station attendant, where he takes him out back and he's got the pistol to his head.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks him what he studied at college, and the guy goes, stuff.
You're at gunpoint. Why are you saying stuff? Absolutely. That was really, really funny. I did like the boy in me very much found the urine content of all of the food.
Oh yeah,
jokes
absolutely.
Funny. Oh my gosh. Also, just the fact that he had that many jobs because he was insomnia was just like, it was so.
Tyler's a night person.
While the rest of us were sleeping.
There is one scene that does always bother me a little bit about this on rewatches, and it's the car scene when they're in the car having the argument. And the reason for that is, regardless of whether he's Tyler or Jack in that scene, the guys in the back have got to be questioning some stuff.
Yeah, just being like real.
He's having a full-on argument
with himself.
And
even if they only see one side of it, like that's weirder by a lot.
Yeah.
Like,
just very strange. And the fact that they only chime in with things about, like, you don't ask questions about Project Mayhem. It's like, okay, this...
And no, they also do answer Tyler's question whenever he's like, what did you want to do before you died?
Oh, yeah.
Like, so...
That's fair, but he's not asking questions about Project Mayhem. He's asking...
Oh, exactly. But, like, just them, reacting to...
Oh, yeah.
Jack Tyler?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is... it is a different film.
It is a very different film. And it was enjoyable. Like, I very much did enjoy it. I probably would go watch it again. It was a good movie. I think I liked it better than Forrest Gump, but I really liked Forrest Gump too.
Okay.
So,
yeah, I mean, you're obviously not alone. A lot of people love Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
But not as much for me.
Forrest, run. I loved the human sacrifice door.
Oh, yeah.
That was a weird door.
Okay, so I have seen this a few times, and I always forget about that door. And what I wanted to know this time, because, like, he talks earlier about the human sacrifices being, like, why they were getting their clothes clean in the river and that kind of stuff. I'm genuinely curious if he is actually going back and killing these people for not fulfilling or attempting to fulfill their goals.
Yeah, absolutely. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's one way or the other.
It had never bothered me before this one, but now I'm just like, is he killing people?
Is he actually going out and doing the murders?
I don't think he is. I think the implication is definitely that he's just done what he did with the gas station attendant that many times.
That's like hundreds of times.
Yeah.
Whew.
So, but yeah. Fight Club.
Very, very good. So any specific standout scenes or performances? I think we've talked about a fair number of scenes already.
Yeah, performances.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah, geez. The boss has a fantastic performance as just the everyday dude, like typical middle
He
manager.
did such a good job with it. Yeah, absolutely.
Like, especially the scenes where you start seeing like the transformation in Jack, and like his shocked, horrified, but keeping it in kind of face is just pitch perfect.
It's so well done. I completely agree with you.
I cannot help myself but laugh at all the Project Mayhem stuff.
Yeah, me too, actually. It was really funny. Like, as soon as it started happening, you're like, again, like, halfway through the movie, it just starts giving small little pieces that you're like,
Or the guy's going out trying to start fights.
Yeah.
The dude just spraying water on
people until eventually someone fights him. That was very, very funny. I liked the car dealership one too. That was funny.
I've never noticed this, but apparently the camera does start shaking on the scene, or specifically the scene with the fight with the priest. Because the cameraman was laughing so hard that he couldn't keep the camera still.
Well, that's fantastic. That makes a lot of sense. Because it was really funny, and that was really well done. Right, it was a good scene.
But yeah, as far as performances, I mean, Edward Norton did an amazing job. He is one of
Jack?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he is one of my favorite actors.
A really, really good job.
I don't think I've ever seen him in something and been like, oh, that was a bad performance.
I haven't seen him in very many other things. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I could think is The Incredible Hulk, but I wouldn't recommend anyone go watch that.
I liked watching that as a child.
Okay.
Yeah, it was one of my go-to movies.
But no, like, he's fantastic in Birdman, which I think is on this list. We'll probably end up watching it. Even if it's not on the list, I'll probably make a little bit of room for it. Why am I spacing everything else he's been in? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
I have seen a lot of his films, and I do love him in all of them. But I think he did a great job. Brad Pitt did an incredible job as well.
Yeah, no, Brad Pitt was fantastic.
I mean, Jared Leto did a solid job. I don't think that he had enough.
Was it the mob boss?
No, Jared Leto was Angel Face, the one who was too blonde.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah. And Edward Norton beats the shit out of him and says he wanted to destroy something beautiful.
That's also a little bit of a technical thing for me. I could not catch most of some of that voiceover,
like the
slower voice. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's fair.
Which it's meant for it. Like, I understand. Like, I wouldn't change it.
Yeah.
But I could not.
It's one where if you're moving around in your seat at all or anything like that, you're probably gonna miss it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, Lou did a great job too. I don't even know who the actor is, but him going into the cellar and like threatening them all and telling them to get out.
Such a good job.
And just shifting that through the scene.
Yeah, the powered shift through that was fantastic to watch. That was super cool. And like interposing Jack on Tyler there is such an like that would be even more terrifying. Like Tyler is a little bit weird if you have this guy like doing the performance that he did while being beat up, but Jack doing that would just terrify you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I think this is an incredible film.
Yeah,
I love it.
I would agree, and I think we've covered most things. Like this is. The makeup was fantastic. Again, the blood was too dark, but it's something you needed in the movie.
Yeah. Oh, and I just wanted to mention this is our first David Fincher film of many.
David Fincher.
Yep.
Nice.
He directed this. When we get to 7, he directed that one.
Nice. I've only been hearing things about 7.
Oh boy, is it different from this one. Very different.
Yep. I've heard
Yeah. Well, and now I'm spacing every movie he's directed as well. So
Good.
We'll get to more of his as well.
I'm excited.
This one isn't on the list, but I absolutely think Zodiac should be watched by us at some point.
Good.
Yeah.
I've heard of. Oh wait, is that the? No, that's Gemini.
It's about the Zodiac killer.
Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be kind of interesting.
Yeah. So anyway, we will watch that at some point. But for now, next week's film is Inception, and we
I've
have already
seen that one.
Yeah.
I love Inception. Inception's a great movie. Oh, that would be nice.
All right, so don't watch next week's episode.
Yeah, sorry guys, it's gonna be kind of boring.
Yep.
If you didn't like any of the Lord of the Rings episodes, you won't like this one either. So.
Well, I'm just saying you've already seen Inception, so like, we both like Inception.
Yeah, we do.
Don't
go to the next one.
Yep.
Just kidding. Don't do
Skip.
that. I think I want to hear thoughts on Inception. I don't know.
Skip to Star Wars.
I watched. Oh yeah, that's gonna be fun. Actually, I like the prequels.
All right. We'll talk more about those when we get to them.
Ooh, awesome.
Again, you haven't seen the Star Wars movies either, so that'll be fun to.
How do we end this?
I don't know.